Alright, so I just started changing the valve covers here. We can see that I took off the Jaguar cover here. I used a 1/4 inch driver with a little extension and a 7mm socket. So I'm just pulling out the coil packs now. We can see that I have oil on the tubes, which is why I'm changing stuff out. It's leaking, so I'm pulling out the coils now, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. Right, so I started getting the bolts out. These bottom bolts down here, they were a pain. Of course, you can't really see them. They were a big pain to get out. By far the worst one was under here, under the coolant reservoir. I ended up breaking my 1/4 universal driver trying to get at it. It's that one right there. So what I ended up having to do is I used a 3/8 wrench with a universal and a couple extenders, and I got it in there and really got it out. The shop that I had do the work originally, they over torqued the heck out of these bolts, so they were a pain to get out. But basically I stuck it in through these hoses here, through the coolant lines, and I was able to reach that one there. Same thing with this one down here at the bottom. It's kind of by the frame here, or by the shock tower. It was a pain to get at too. I did the same idea with the 3/8 universal, and I was able, with a little bit of patience, to get at it. So I got almost all the bolts out. I'm going to take the rest of them out here, and then we should be ready to remove the valve cover. It's taken me so far. I had to go back and grab different tools and whatnot, but so far I'm at about, I don't know, half an hour or so. Trying to get this done, taking as little stuff off as possible. So we'll be back here in a moment as soon as I get the rest of these out. Right, so I'm just making sure everything is taken off. The oil filler, or the dipstick, that was getting in the way, so they did what was suggested on the forums, which worked out well. Kind of cut a little notch into the oil filler, the oil tube, and moved it out of the way. It was kind of a pain. I'll bend it back into shape once I'm putting it back on, but then I was able to finally move that sucker out of the way, and that should be my last bolt. Alright, so I pulled the valve cover off, and we can see there's the timing chain tensioner and whatnot for those of you that need to check it. This one happens to be the metal. You can see all the stuff in there. Got the valve cover itself over here. Got all sorts of craziness. I pulled the bolts out, but I made note of what goes where. So I'm going to be replacing all of these seals and whatnot on there, and put it all back together. Hopefully not over torque it, but I'm going to clean it all up and make it look all nice and shiny first. So we will see you back in a minute. So I have it all cleaned up now. I still have to get rid of the RTV sealant up there by the timing cover. Get that all nice and smooth, and then I'm going to of course reapply new when I put the valve cover back on. I got the valve cover all cleaned up, so I replaced all the seals. These guys here for the spark plug tubes, I just had to go through with a little baby screwdriver and pry those things up. Same thing with these guys here. They were kind of a pain to get out. Looks like one of them actually fell out, so I gotta of course make sure to put that back in. But yeah, cleaned it all up. I used brake cleaner, O'Reilly's brake cleaner. That way it doesn't leave residue in there, and I can make sure the surface is all nice and smooth and whatnot. So just going to clean up that RTV sealant, and then we can start on the installation. So I'm going to take the valve cover off here, the passenger side. So I have to remove the air filter box and the filter tubes and whatnot. Got to get at the valve cover, of course, down here. While I'm there, take a look at everything else. But yeah, I got to take some bolts out. We got the bolts here. Basically, get the air box out of there. Got the bolts up here on the throttle body and intake here. So pop those out, and then we can actually get to the valve cover. Center cover off. Now I just have to take out the coils here, get rid of that wiring harness. So it's basically 2 bolts per coil, bolt here. So yeah, we'll pop those out, get the wires out of the way, and then we can get started. Alright, so we got the valve cover back on. I did have to take the box out. I kind of moved it a little bit this way. I was able to get the cover out, so I put it all back in, just like the driver's side. Applied a little motor oil on all the gaskets, and then the gasket material up front, silicone. So it's going good. It's a little smoky in here because I took the plugs out and you know, cleaned all the oil out of the tubes. They were leaking a little bit, but runs good, sounds good. Doesn't look like any leaks. We'll find out, of course, as I drive if it leaks, but so far so good. Nothing to it. Took about, I don't know, 3 hours and 3.5 hours, and that was with breaking for lunch. So thanks.